We're the Volsteads, and we're here to rock the house in a country blues kind of style, I guess, right? Wake up, mama, turn your lamp down low. Sit down. Wake up, mama, turn that lamp down low, low, low. Well, you got more nerve, Lord, turn for me from your door, yeah, yeah. Well, she was an 8-wheeler, and she would not stop. All I seen that colored fireman when he get that boiler hot, and I wake up, mama, hand me down my traveling shoes, traveling shoes. You can tell by that, Lord, I got them Statesboro blues, yeah, Statesboro blues. This woman, better than you ever seen. Yes, I once had a woman, fellas, and man, that girl's better than you ever seen. Well, she treated me like a king, Lord. That girl was a doggone queen, doggone queen. Well, she states no color, but her front teeth are all lined with gold. Just states no color, but her front teeth are all lined with gold, yeah. She got a mortgage on my body, my very soul, yeah, a very soul. Speech. Words don't mean a thing. You don't practice what you preach. Said talk is cheap. That's what I hear. If you want make the plans, but things still ain't right, you know. Talk is cheap, that's what I hear. If you wanna do something to me, action speaks louder than words, yeah. In the morning, how you talk all day long. All that hot air gonna wreck your happy home, you know. Talk is cheap, that's what I hear. If you wanna do something to me, action speaks louder than words, yeah.
All right, today we are rocking the house with Volsteads. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
We have Alec, Trevor Johnson, and Bill Bailey. We are deep in talent today, huh?
I don't know if it's talent, but
It's something. We're definitely
It smells
down
funny.
in something.
And it's all here. Al, you came to Vegas to do a show on the Strip.
Yes, that's a whole nother sort of show right there. But yeah, to play the American Superstars. It doesn't exist anymore. But myself and Junior Brantley,
Yes.
we were just talking about, and anybody out there, were enlisted to be. Junior does an incredible Little Richard impersonation. And if I had to, I don't know if I'd ever do it again, but I had to at the time. I was part of a Blues Brothers thing. It was classic showbiz thing where I never met the guy. He was a comic from San Francisco, and we put the act together and one did it.
What year did you come out?
92.
Oh, okay. So you'd been here a long time
Yeah.
before I got here. I got here in 98. And incidentally, you are the first guy that I played with here in town. I was already kind of retired. I guess I wasn't really playing anymore. They were building the studio. That's why I had come to town.
Yeah.
And wandered into the Sand Dollar
Yeah, there you go.
one day. And you were doing the jam, and I sat in one night. And then you were also changing up your lineup. So you had asked if I wanted to do that, on a regular
Yeah.
basis. And I did, for a little while. And then from there came Willie J.
Right.
He was doing the House of Blues thing, and then he came to a jam night one time, and then he asked me to do his thing if I wanted to go do
Right.
that. And I did that for a little while. Again, this was all while we were still kind of trying to get off the ground. So I was playing just a little bit, but again, hadn't really come out here to play. And then, of course, I knew of Junior from Kim Wilson working with the Thunderbirds before I had come to Vegas.
Oh, okay.
And then I saw him with you.
Right.
So, and then Junior took me to meet Tony Bellamy.
Oh.
So from there, I went to go do the Redbone stuff with him for a little while, and that was about all I had done here.
Right.
Hadn't really come to do the lounges
Right. But we've
or
always
any of that stuff.
John, I need you. What are you doing tonight?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Getting my shoes on.
I'll put my shoes back on. Yeah.
Take the bunny slippers off.
So, doing the shows on the Strip to doing the blues scene, here in Vegas. I mean, outside of the obvious differences, what did you enjoy it? Not enjoy it so much?
Oh, well, that's the nice thing about blues. It is sort of an international thing, blues fans. The only sobering thing was that he had this pretty good-sized town, and the Sand Dollar was like the only game in town, and it kind of still is, the Sand Dollar and the Salves and Spurs. And that identify with blues. That's changing a little bit. More about that later, I guess. But
yeah, sure.
It's changing a little bit.
It seems like there were festivals and things like that were kind of happening for blues things. Now, were they not as high profile, or is there just less regard for them? I mean, what do you think?
You also got to talk about the reggae, the Fremont Street Reggae and Blues, because that was like the hot club that brought in international blues acts through town.
I don't know. I think that was before you were here.
Before my time.
And it kind of came and went really fast. But for a second there, Las Vegas had what I always call the best blues club in the world, because Terry and those guys had that thing going not just 7 nights a week, but they had 2 bands a night. And all the bands, they didn't hire any local bands.
Right.
It was all touring bands, like the Paladins and Rod Piazza and all the names out there. So, I mean, you'd and it would be a doubleheader. You'd be Candy Cane and the Paladins on Tuesday, and then the next night. And that's where the jam really got started, that jam I had, because AJ had me and Junior and Jimmy Decker and Dalton Farmer and then we would have that's when he first started to open it up to the Vegas musicians, was with that jam.
Right. And I had known of the Sand Dollar for years before coming here, and exactly like you said, it was these headliners, and it seemed to be this little bit off the beaten path thing. But as is the blues market in general. I mean, in Southern California, it was the same thing. But there was this saturation of it. I mean, there were so many bands. And in my opinion, the blues is the most hacked genre there is.
You're not wrong.
There's so many. And it's just written off people believing that it's this easy thing to do. And you don't find bands that really bring it like that. You'll get Stormy Monday or Shuffled to Death by the same guys over and over that create the stigmata that people don't want to hire blues bands. But I see some of the casinos starting to do some things like that. You're a younger guy by standard.
Right.
What is your experience with the casinos?
Vegas is interesting. I haven't worked on the Strip a whole lot. And when it was, we had the gig at House of Blues. How I got started playing, it was me and Al were doing the acoustic folky blues thing at House of Blues. But aside from that, maybe a barbecue restaurant on the Strip or House of Blues, there's not much blues that happens on the Strip itself.
Right. It's always a something in the corner, or something on the
when
side.
they want to have a theme.
A theme. Right.
I lucked out and I met Maya. Do you remember?
Yeah, that's right.
And God bless her, man. There's a hip chick, because her son turned me on to her and said, "Yeah, you ought to see this band, this blues band, and they're playing at the Sand Dollar." Well, first off, who comes down to the Sand Dollar? She comes down, and most people watch 1 or 2 songs. She sat a whole set and watched us. When she got done, she goes, "Yeah, I think I can use it. Let me ask you 2 questions. Can you turn it down, and do you have a tuxedo?"
Yes and yes.
yes. I mean, how Vegas is that, And do you have a tuxedo? And so, because I'm able to do a lot of instrumentals, Freddie King instrumentals, and I used to do a lot more surf instrumentals at a time, she put us to work. Usually when you walk into a convention, there'll be maybe a little jazz group over in the corner, just playing in the background. She'd have us playing surf tunes and Freddie King instrumentals, which was really hip. Because every now and again someone would notice, and then by the end of the event, everybody's getting looped up, and all of a sudden it comes in kind of handy having a blues band over in the corner.
Right. And I do remember she was getting some pretty nice corporate stuff.
Oh man, I've played all up and down the Strip. I played them all. At one gig I had to put 2 shufflers together. That's my band, the Shufflers. I had to put 2 of them together so that one could play in this ballroom and one could play in that ballroom. There was thousands of these Canadians down there, So,
wow.
And then she would put me and Mary, at somebody's up in Caesar's Palace, up in a suite. And you know how rich folks is. Sometimes they just know that somebody's over in the corner working,
That's right.
So
that's actually something that's really great about this town. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. One, because the mainstream is jammed down everybody's throat, but the diversity
all kinds
here
of gigs.
in this town.
All kinds of gigs.
The gigs, the styles, the bands, all of that, and it's kind of this underground thing. When I came here in '98, there was a really big original music scene. It was really big, bigger than it was even in LA, where I'd come from. But the blues bands, and like you were saying, the Sand Dollar, there was always this double shift, and it was just banging. There was a lot going on, and some really great bands, great musicians. You have your own group, Trevor?
Yeah. Yep. My band is called Trevor and the Swing Johnsons.
Nice.
My last name's Johnson, so I can get away with that kind of thing. But Al plays bass, Al plays bass, and we do like the late 40s, early 50s jump and swing blues kind of stuff. So like Louis Jordan and Wynonie Harris, that blues shouter era.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like the bridge between the big band stuff and the early rock and roll stuff. So, like, guitars are kind of starting to take over in the combos, less horns. And, so that's kind of like my favorite kind of stuff.
Okay,
And
sounds
we
what I
got a young
listen
guy
to.
named Alex that we should mention.
Yep,
he's even younger. So, for me, it's important to see that this stuff, this music we love, that there's actually a couple of people out there, young guys, that are
continuing.
not swept into the mainstream,
Right.
but into the, I hate to say the real deal, because that means, but then you don't think this is the real deal. No, I'm not going there, but the real deal.
Real deal.
Yep. But, so Alex is 24. I'm 32. We've got Al on bass, and we also have Al Guzman on drums.
Oh, Al, yeah, I know Al.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
And then...
Includes me, you'll notice, John.
No, but Bill subs and everything.
You might be just past the threshold. I don't know. I'm not
Bill
sure.
gets a phone call every once in a while, all right? We throw him a bone.
Like this one, Bill.
Bone. Yeah, like this one. Yeah.
Hey, that's right.
Oh yeah, let's get the old guy.
It's
Let's
like,
get
what
Bill.
time is it? It's before nap time. Yeah, I'm good.
Time. They know they got to get me before 7 o'clock because that's when I go to bed.
Oh
That's
no, we're
correct.
coming to you because I know some of your history. We're definitely coming there. But how did you guys hook up? Were you
Sand Dollar.
Sand Dollar?
Sand Dollar.
Just the
I
jam.
turned 21 and I went and watched every band in town, and Alan Jr. were the guys playing the old school blues. So I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. That's who I want to play with.
That was the thing of interest. So yeah, by default, as the young guy, people don't expect that. from you.
Right.
So
And I
you
had
probably-
like hair down to here, and I'd never played in a band before I stepped on stage with Al and the Shuffleaires.
Wow. Yeah, I think I had met you when you guys may have just hooked up at that Jalisco or that place that we were talking
It would have
about.
been a little bit before that. So
Before
Mary was
that
still
even?
playing.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Ronk played
Okay,
with
so
Mary.
it's been quite a while.
I've been playing with Al for 12 years now. Yeah, it flies by. It seems
So
weird to say, but
He's seen it all with me here now, and the good side, the bad side.
Indeed.
There is a good side, right?
Yep, it's in there.
There is one. You found it? You saw it?
Did you see it?
He plays harp really well. I mean,
He's a good harp player.
That was excellent. But at the time too, when I had first started working with you, the rockabilly thing was happening because we had done Viva Las Vegas, or I had done one with you 1 year.
great festival.
And that, I have another friend of mine that was trying to turn me on to that thing, and I did not realize how big that was.
Yeah. He's actually in one of the premier bands here in town.
yeah?
Shannon the Howlers.
Right.
Oh yeah,
We've
okay.
got 2 records out. We're about to drop the 3rd one.
Is Rolling Rock? Was it Rolling Rock?
Yeah.
Still around?
Ronnie Weisner.
Yes.
Local rockabilly legend. Anybody out there, ears perking up? Yeah. And I don't want to say he isn't, but I don't, the internet really killed the small label thing.
Killed a lot of stuff. They killed the big labels.
I always seem to get the vapor then, the end of everything. And it's like, good news is I met Ronnie Weisner. We did some CDs. We did one with Narble Feltz and a couple of Max Stevens and all that. And boom, hit a brick wall.
I had done that with you too. We had done a recording over at his studio. Yeah. And again, way back in the beginning, I think of our relationship.
98, 99, yeah.
Yeah, probably 99. It was very early, right when I got here. Because at first, like I said, I really wasn't out there working with too many people. So I was just trying to get out there. But the fans are fanatical. And you better be true to form.
Right.
That was one thing
you can
that
tell
I really
right away.
noticed about.
What are you driving?
Well, see that,
and that's why you reacted today when I pulled up in my cube.
What is this thing?
What is this?
This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I was ready to wave you past out there.
Yeah,
in the
I got
back.
room. He's going to have a big old Chevy in here in a minute here. The blues thing is sort of growing older and older. So that's what the concern is in the
Crowd
blues
is
community.
aging out.
Oh yeah, I got you.
know,
I got you.
young
They're not
kids
being
are-
replenished from the the bottom.
Now I had that exposure young from my pop. You know,
Right.
my pop was a guitar player from San Antonio, and by the time he was
He was
16,
a real good guitar player in San Antonio.
by the time he was 16, he was playing with Clarence Gatemouth Brown in
Cool.
Corpus Christi, and then from there he was starting to do some things, you know, through the 60s, and he worked here in Vegas actually in the
Worked with me
60s.
that's a couple times.
Yes, absolutely.
Really appreciate
And
that.
he loved it. You know, he used to love to come down.
We loved what he did. I think he knew he was with people that dug what he
that
did.
was
you know.
doing that, you know,
Yes.
and he did stay, you know, pretty true to form, you know, purist, you know, that way. And it was great exposure, you know, to that whole scene and the thing of the musicians and the sheltering that they did, you know, for me, which I didn't appreciate till much later.
Indeed.
Well, I love the story about how you took up drums. And the old man said, "Okay, you're gonna take up drums. Okay, well, here's a snare. When you learn all your rudiments, was it a hi-hat or bass
That's
drum?"
right. No, it was even harder core than that. It was a click. He says he told me because they thought by attrition I would be a guitar player, you know, and I just wasn't taken to it. And when he found out I wanted to play drums, he says, "Okay, well, there's nothing worse than playing with a terrible drummer. So here's a click track, and here's the sticks, and you're gonna learn how to read, and you're gonna get with these
advice.
hands, guys." And I'm going, I want a giant drum set, you know. Well, that's what I need right out of the gate. And no, you know, it was a couple years that you know I got a drum set, and it was
You got a piece at a time.
it was a full drum set at first, so I'm able to go out there and see, and this is great. And he goes, okay, and he took everything away except the hi-hat, snare, and the bass drum. And he says, when you learn that, we'll start adding things around it, because if it's there, you're going to want to hit it, and that's not your job.
If
you
it's
know?
there, you're going to want to hit it. Perfect.
And it was great. You know, I mean, like I said, that wasn't something I could appreciate till much later, but certainly it was good. And then the next thing that he was a stickler for was don't learn one style, and whatever styles you do play them authentically. You know, so he used to, because he was working with cats, he was a Capitol Records guitarist in the 60s and 70s, mostly 60s. So by then he knew some people and they were playing a little bit on weekends. So he would start dragging me on the Sunday night.
Right.
Okay, come play a song, you know, come play a couple songs and with these different guys. So it was great.
And
you
then
know,
for
it
blues
was an
like
incredible
that,
experience.
you know, that mindset, like, okay, you're playing blues, you know, everything that you learn, you know, from the 1960s and 70s, you need to learn how to remove that.
That's right.
And then, you know, sit on your hands and have enough respect for the music to not play things that did not exist in that time period.
So many young people don't
my
know,
God.
Trevor. Good point. So many blues guys. I don't want to say in particular, but
Right.
so many blues guys.
There's
that's
so much of that
it's an
80s
issue.
shred guitar player that crossed over to the blues in the 90s, you know.
And now it's become a staple. It's,
right.
it's expected. A good friend of mine back home calls it guitar gymnastics, and that's really it. You know, it's
Great description. Yeah. But a lot of that did carry over to a style, and there is some really sophisticated music. You know, like if you get into the crossover guys, the Robin Fords and
for sure,
and
there's room
those,
for it, no doubt
and,
about
and,
it.
But the names you don't hear are like Chris Kane. You know, and there's just some amazing things that can be done, you know, in within the genre, and yet people are gonna give you Stormy Monday all day long, you know, and not that there's anything bad about that when it's done properly.
The T-Bone Walker way.
Oh, right. Well, and people go, "What's that?"
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now.
But you're going to get Pride and Joy, and you're going to get Cold Shot all day long, and that's
Red
what
House.
A butchered coal shot.
absolutely, and that's what makes people hate blues bands.
For sure. And that's what makes people not want to book blues bands.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, as a young man, I like kind of latched on to the retro thing because I noticed there was nobody else doing it, much less nobody that was 22 years old that was trying to play like Muddy Waters or trying to play like Little Walter.
Right.
You know, that's been my career.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's what I went for.
And that was definitely the cool thing about what you were doing is you were kind of going end to end, you know, with the acoustic stuff and with the electric stuff and the boogaloo stuff and the rockabilly, and it just had a flavor that was absolutely, you know, unique.
I always described it as I've enjoyed a good record collection, and it's as if you took my records and threw them on the floor. And they all got interchanged with the surf records, got in with the blues records,
Right.
with the country redneck stuff, and
you've been able to parlay
somehow make
that
sense out of it.
into work because you've worked this entire time.
Vegas has been really good to me. I got to say, I was just talking to one of my homeboys back in Milwaukee, and I said, man, this town was it was perfect for me. It was the right place at the right time, and the idiosyncrasies of what I do, a little of this, a little of that. I was just always been able to be the guy that got the call.
Right.
I love you, Vegas. I appreciate that. Because, back east, I know guys that smoke me all day long, and they're not working.
Not working. Yeah.
They're not working, man.
So obviously the pandemic hit the town and the world. How did you fare during that time? I mean, were you still able to do some things, or was it just?
Once again, this town's been great to me.
And because we had this acoustic thing, there was like the age of the ambient music. So, me and Al in a corner picking acoustic guitars fit that thing.
And there was always something you could do.
Yeah. So we pretty much kept going.
Bailey and I were like the band on the Titanic. We played like the last gig.
Last gig, it was like that
The night.
Tuesday night. It was
St. Patty's Day.
And it was like, I think the last night anybody worked in this town.
Yeah, it came over the radio that they're shutting down
And we were
at midnight.
nervous, and we were all like, and we were at the end of the place, and the bar, people were all over there, and
So
I
Bill,
hadn't seen how anyone says, "Do you feel like we're on the Titanic, Bill?" I go, "Yeah, I guess I do kind of feel like."
I know you've been here a little bit and you have quite the resume. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've done here in town? What brought you here?
Oh man,
How much you love it?
might be too long. I've been here since the end of '79.
So you've seen some changes.
I've seen a lot of changes. And when I came here, I passed through with the band, typical lounge band, a couple of horn players, and front guy like so many bands I did all through my 20s and traveling around. And then I met a little group of people, musicians, and I met the wife who I came back to chase down. So then I left with the band and said, "I'm coming back, babe, I'm coming back," and quit the band and came back to Las Vegas, where her parents and she picked me up in 2 little Hondas, me and all my shit, my electric bass, my amp, because the airport in those days was a big half circle. That's all it was. And if you're picking people up, if you're dropping people off, you're pulled in. So I'm just at the airport, and they all pick me up, and that's how I started. Anyway,
We want
where
you
do
to
I
drop
begin?
some names here. We were talking earlier about Mel Torme.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I played some lounge bands, and actually had my name in marquee with some lounge guys way back when. And then I got this job at the Desert Inn after being here a couple of years. And geez, I could drop names there all day long. I mean, I got to play a lot of production shows.
Sammy
I played.
Davis Jr. was
Stealing
particularly
cigarettes from
fond of
Sammy
you,
Davis
wasn't he?
Jr.
Friends of mine,
Come on.
I'm passing on that story for the moment, but I got to play for Mel Torme, Juliette Prowse. I don't know. I could go on for. I mean,
That's what I want to hear. What do you mean?
Robert Goulet, the Smothers Brothers.
There you go.
Yes, I played
Yeah.
bass with the Smothers Brothers, who have a bass player, strangely enough, and I played chorus line, and I had a great time there. Did a lot of stuff.
Played at the
and
Symphony.
thank you, Al, for Elsa. I've played what used to be the Las Vegas Symphony, and which is now the Philharmonic, which I'm not associated with them anymore. And I was principal bassist for the Nevada Chamber Symphony way back when. I'm trying to masquerade as a classical guy, which I'm really not, but I was born with some talent, and I've always been able to take very little and put it to great use. So I had my showroom gig. Things kind of fell apart, strikes and all that kind of stuff. And
Now you play with me and Trevor.
and that's when I started actually kind of drifting into, because I tried the freelance thing for a bunch of years, and it was, I had 3 little girls and a wife, and freelancing is really impossible. I'm kind of a jazz classical guy. And I have to admit, that's kind of about the time when I fell into the blues band stuff. Oh, there's blues bands in this town. I can do that stuff.
Bobby Mercero.
And I fell in love. I met
Wow.
Nick Farkas, who these guys, you
sure.
remember Nick,
Oh,
because he was one of the
Nick,
premier
Nick played some gigs with us.
originator, and I was oblivious to the blues thing pretty much, but I got associated with Nick and some friends of mine, and Scott Reiner, who was a big blues hero here before I met him, and he went away to, where was he?
Austin. He went to Austin, came back.
And about the time he came back was when I had hooked up with Nick, so we had this little blues band and some steady gigs, and that's how my little blues thing started, and I don't know where to go from there.
So you were working in the heyday that was still mob rule? Was that
I
happening?
mean, it was sort of fading out, but yes, things are better. But I described myself then as having missed the good old days. Because even though I came here in 79, all the musicians that I met, I was the kid then, now I'm the old guy, but I was the kid, and they all had their own, paid off beautiful homes. And they'd never worked a normal day. I mean, I'd worked plenty of regular jobs in my life, including since I've been here, cutting lawns and stuff. And these guys had probably never worked a normal job in their lives. All these old-time musicians made all this great money. And they always talked about the days where, we had the showroom gig, but then on our breaks, we'd go play the lounges for Ike and Tina Turner in the lounges. And so I actually think I missed a lot of great days, but on the other hand, I mean, it's all relative.
So you're not me.
Because now,
you missed all of it. All of it.
When I came, there was plenty of gigs, and there were daytime shows and midi shows. 2 topless girls instead of 30, little hotels. I mean, it was a great time. It was
right. So I guess 79 would have been already the tail end if it had
early
not already
yes, and I was a young man,
then.
and I was just I had a lot of fun.
Right, because that was a question. How was it different? I know that you hear that a lot. Oh, when the mob was here, we were treated like kings.
In fact, you could walk down the sidewalk. I mean, there was none of that stuff on the side. And the hotels were fewer, and the big lots, and hookers everywhere. I mean, want to party? It was just a regular part about walking down the street, with your wife in your arm, and you want to party, and I was because that's the way it was. And there was always the lounge you played in. There was always, she's the hooker. That one, you'd always recognize her at the bar. So, things are...
Right. Now it's a postcard.
I guess so, yeah.
And
now
they
text me. No.
They text you. Well, they don't text you.
No, they don't.
So, I mean, where do you guys see the industry just in general, and I guess especially in the blues kind of heading now? I mean, I think recovering from this one is going to be a little bit tougher than even 08, since we really hadn't recovered from that either. When I got here too, there was still a lot of double shift everywhere. There was 6-nighters, and the money was better, and it has steadily declined. And this is yet another excuse, for them to do that. As we're ramping back up, a lot of people that we know are working, and they're going back to work, and they're going back to work for a third or half of what they were making. And of course, under the premise that they're going to bring it back up. But when has that ever happened? It's.
I suppose it depends if enough people march off those planes. I mean, if enough of them, I've detected a little bit of the appreciation that people are starting to come out. Oh my God, band's far out,
Yeah,
and don't you love this? But we all know human nature, and I'm wondering how long that's going to last before we're back to, all right, seen it, done it. We're all good now.
But regardless, I think this summer is going to be hopping for us. I think
Yeah,
everyone's ready to
new.
party. Everyone's ready to get back out and do what they used to.
Well, Fremont Street was packed the other night. They did the 12 o'clock midnight opening, and it was jam packed out there. But I think it's
I hope it does last. I mean, I don't don't misread me.
No,
but we
sure.
all on the same page. I hope people have this awareness that goes, now that I think about it, live music really is great. Watching 3-4 people interact and seeing if somebody's going to drop the ball or not, and But
right.
But also a lot of musicians that couldn't leave their house for a year, we've learned all these new skills, So in a way, we are coming out of the other side, whether
I've learned how to cook. I've learned how to watch my grandkids.
I'm talking about this stuff. We're doing podcasts, we're doing live streams, we're recording more. Everyone's going to be releasing an album in the next year. Everyone's been working on stuff. So I think that even if the gigs do drop out, now we've kind of got this side thing
that's gonna
Side hustle.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
In my opinion, since I kind of come from that, the jazzer kind of thing or those lounge kind of things, it seems to me that the blues kind of thing seems to be recovering. They all seem to be working as a group, by and large, way more than the other people that I've associated with most of these years. Those guys with those little jazz trios or with the chick singers singing jazz. They seem to be still struggling, but all the blues guys seem to be thriving. I mean, at the moment, and I hope it lasts.
I had 18 gigs on my calendar this month.
Oh, wow.
For the first time
Yeah,
in
for
a
instance.
year and a half.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But see, this speaks to what blues is, and what it isn't. you're very seldom, there isn't going to be too many people that are going to make a lot of money playing blues or any serious money playing blues. But if you have a little working blues band and it's a good band, you always at least were able to find a gig somewhere on Friday and Saturday night. And because it's a blues band, it's not as loud as a rock band. You can fit it in traditionally, you would play places that rock bands would never dream of playing, because you're a smaller band, you play quieter, especially if you're traditionally minded. You can play in these small little dumpy bars. You can even do it as a trio and that kind of thing.
It's more
but,
fun.
As my friend back home put it, it's $50 the hard way. I mean, you're never making big money, but you are going to work,
Jazz guys say the same thing. But jazz guys say the same thing, but they're not having as much fun. I assure you they're not having as much fun.
They have to think too hard, man. It's all
People
those
do.
charts.
I mean, it's a sophisticated thing. And I love jazz, obviously, and I love playing. I mean, the freedom, it's a great thing. But the blues people, people in bars, they just seem to, even if they're not musical types, it gets under their skin. And, they start drinking more and they laugh and they start dancing.
It was written for that. And, up until the 90s, all of a sudden, around the mid-90s, I started seeing at the Sand Dollar as the first of a Rolling Stone review and stuff like that. I thought, what is this? What are these rock people doing in our corner bar, in our blues bars? You guys have your beer halls, your big shows. This is our little dumpy little corner that we're traditionally thriving in, Well,
that was happening a lot. The tribute bands were certainly infiltrating every venue, in town.
Now it's out of hand, man.
It was for a while, and then it seemed like people kind of. That's not why they went to these places, and I think the venues caught on to that. It's like, let's put this back to the reason that people come here. I mean, if you want that, all you got to do is go across the street, to the Strip, and you can have that, all day long, for you. So that was something that was good about this town. It seemed like it was starting to diversify, and everybody was excited to death when the House of Blues was coming here.
Yeah.
But to me, honestly, it was the house of anything but blues.
It still is.
It
still is.
And I understand, they have to fill the venue, they got to make money, and they've got to attract people.
From the House of Blues.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Most people have on their resume. Well, I got to be careful now, but most people have on their resume. That I played the House of Blues this and I did that. I was actually banned for the House of Blues.
The upstairs, not the downstairs.
The foundation?
Yeah, well, we just talked about her. I don't want to mention any names, but she comes down into the green room one morning and goes, "What did you say over the telephone yesterday?"
Oh, okay.
And I had been on the telephone with an agent here in town that was booking me and still does book me, and I went off on this very subject about how the House of Blues. I go, man, they don't book any blues there. I don't think, if you are what you eat, you are what you listen to. And if we go through the parking lot, I would be surprised if we went through all the cars of all the people that work here. I'd be surprised to see how many blue CDs we would find. I don't think we probably would find any.
Right.
Well, this conversation was being taped and got played for these people. Yeah. So she comes down into the room because, we were in that, this was after you left that Blue Schoolhouse thing.
Right.
What did you say on the phone? I knew right away. She goes, "You are banned from the House of Blues, mister." But I told him, "You're not taking my boy from here, so you can still play in this show." Well, Vegas is a small town, all right? And it's even smaller if you play blues, and even smaller if you play traditional. So I'm back up there in 2 weeks playing bass for somebody else,
That's right.
And one of the sound techs comes up to me and goes, "Aren't you banned from here?" And I went, "No, that's my twin brother." And he's always getting it. You can't keep his mouth shut. He's always getting it.
Hate that guy.
Yeah, I hate that guy. He's such a knob.
Such a jerk.
Well, that would be, again, because of the shortage of the people that do it well. So if they are going to do blues things, there's 5 people you call.
Yeah, that's the inherent problem with blues.
There's
It's
like
not
8
as
of
easy as
us,
it
and it's
sounds.
like 10 different bands. But
That's
it's
right.
really only 8 of us.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
And that's not I don't think that is so much a horrible thing to say, about that. I certainly
community,
wouldn't come on. I worked there a lot, with Willie. I was up there for a couple years, and then of course the foundation, the show, and anything else. It's certainly not a dig, and again, I understand the business of having to fill a venue and the shortage of people that you can actually put in there. Who's left? Who's left that is the real deal,
Yeah, and of course you hate to say that because, we all know the real deal. The real deal is Junior. It's Charlie, God bless him, those cats,
Right.
Just a punk kid. just a punk kid, a couple years older, hunched over the record player going, how does that go, man? That is wild. What is he doing there, you know?
Right.
But that's what makes the difference. That's what we're alluding to. You know, the kid that puts in that time to learn that solo, the right solo. And, and you hear, that's why, you know, you and there was actually another young man the same age, John Atkins. Is that his last name? I just know his Destins.
Yep, John Atkinson, Big John Atkinson.
Yeah.
So that was my first band I was ever in, and Al played bass in it. It was me and another guy my age.
And these guys would come to the bar and they'd play, and you could just hear people just turn their head and go, "What is going on?" Because they're hearing, you know, young guys that have worked out the right guitar parts.
Right.
And it's the full swing, the full power of blues. This is what little Walter had in mind, man. Boom, out of the park.
Right.
He had the voice to
not some
back it
shredding
up.
thing.
You know, he had a really authentic.
Well,
great
there was
voice.
a lot of those guys, you know, just even going through the Sand Dollar that would come from shows they were playing, you know, after hours and come to play, you know, because whatever they had their hands, you know, handcuffed to in the show, you know, they would come to
And I always took care of them. That's why it worked.
Absolutely, and it was great because they were putting that out there too, that was a place to go and see these
that
things, you know.
got to be like a whole little circus in there because it was understood that my jam, I didn't have a sign-up list.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
about that. I don't. That's not what this is about. This jam is to cater to who's ever going to show up that's going to do the best job right now. And I'd have people wait. I don't brag about it. It doesn't make me feel good, but you know, there'd be guys waiting. You know, your classic jammer with his guitar, drinking water, waiting to get up there, and you know, am I going to get up tonight? I go, no, man. John showed up. Trevor showed up. Everybody showed up, man. And it's all about the show. It's all about the show. And that's what we had women. We had chicks showing up.
The non-players that were there stayed there, and they enjoyed the show.
After a while, even though I jilted them and they were mad at me, they still hung out because they knew that, wow, man, you know, all the best players.
Right.
Anyone that's ever ran a jam knows it's a thankless job.
Well, it's brutal because
gonna
of
piss
that. You know,
somebody off
you
at
have
some
the
point.
entitled who come do their 3 tunes or 2 songs like clockwork. You could set your watch to them. And then that was the thing that was great about the Sand Dollar and the jam that you were running is if you couldn't play, they got pulled off quickly.
I still meet people today. They go, I go, I met you. And I go,
I've
you
seen
went
it.
to the jam, and right away I go, oh yeah, did you have a good time? No, you wouldn't let me get up, or you kicked me off the stage or something. You know, I go, yeah, I'm sorry, man. You know, but they seem to get it, even because they look around and go, the place was packed. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
it was as good as their Saturday nights. You know?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, cats. It was Junior Brantley caliber. You know, Stevie got to play with Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know, I mean, it wasn't
Junior right there. That says it all. You know.
So it was always great, man. And it was always the hang, you know. So and it was just big.
It got to be like, I mean, that's where when I first met Tollfield and stuff. Anybody came to town, that's where they would come and hang out because you come to the Monday Night Jam, you could meet pretty much a lot of what was going on right there, and then you could showcase what you did. Because I remember Tollfield. I went, I just knew by his whole demeanor though he was going to be able to play. You know, first off, he didn't care if he got out.
Yeah,
there's your first indicator.
That's the first. Yeah.
I don't care. You're getting up.
You're next.
You're next.
But you know that jam, it wasn't catering to people's egos and dudes that wanted to play. But at the same time, it was a great learning environment for me to learn the ropes. Because I didn't go to music school. I went to Al's Jam Night every week. You know,
That's probably better than music school.
I saved some money.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, the pool table got me a couple times, but I definitely. And you know that's like that blues tradition. Like that, this is a tradition that's passed down. And you know, Al learned it from some guys that were older than him.
Junior.
You know,
From still am, and from that whole crowd of Milwaukee, I had to call all those guys up and go, Junior's in the hospital. You guys, whoa. You know? So those are the guys I learned from. And then he comes around and Junior and Chris and everybody's up on stage.
Right.
Can't go wrong with that
He's
stuff.
done. Didn't he do? Was it a tour again with the old guy Short Stuff? Just a few years ago now.
Oh, he went back. Short Stuff did a reunion.
Did they do a run or was it just a gig?
They did, because this Jimmy Liban guy I'm always bragging about. I mean, he really has credentials that just go through the roof, jam with Jimi Hendrix and people like that, because he was doing this all in the early 60s on out. And so they did a big 50-year anniversary. So that must have been like 2000, whatever. But so that was the closest to a short stuff reunion.
Yeah, I remember. It was some years ago. I knew that, but I remember there was a
birthday or something.
Yeah. Well, it was probably must have been like his 70th. It was 50 years. I'm not sure what year that would be. It'd be like 65, so it might have been 2015, whatever it was.
Wow. All right.
But, there you have it. It's blues is a folk music, and it's handed down, and it was handed down to me, and then Junior comes out, and me and Junior and Chris and these guys are doing it, and these guys groove on it, and then then Alex is right behind that. Too bad he couldn't have seen a little bit of that.
Yeah, and it seems like no matter what,
that's what makes it so special.
It will endure. Because
that's what the hope is.
In some form.
Well, if people are playing this stuff that is, once again, the right way, I hate to say that because I don't want to, but a more traditional, it's going to be because of him and the crew that he's got going.
Right.
Guys that sweat the details. How is this played? Those guys are now into the recording end of it too. It's not enough that they're playing the right guitars and the right guitar parts. This John Atkinson character, and now these guys, Alex and him, are investing in, to play with, to record with tape.
Wow.
Because John Atkinson has a situation. He doesn't have one piece of equipment that's newer in 1960.
Wow. Okay.
Kim Wilson's last record.
Oh, okay.
So this isn't just an amusing little.
He goes through and finds old Ampexes in old ladies' basements, and he painstakingly restores every component and
puts it back together.
So his whole studio is built of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, there's something to it. I mean, it's funny that in all the technology that we have now, everybody's striving for that old sound.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make these new
Tubes
pieces
sound
sound
amazing.
like
That might save
He
music.
came through town about, when was this, about 8 months ago?
4, 5, 6. I'd say 6 months.
Okay. With his trimmed down unit, it's only one channel, and we did some recording at Monk's house, and where the patio was the isolation booth. We go out there and listen back to the replay, and you'd swear that there was a head inside that little monitor speaker singing back through you because of that tape.
Yeah.
And the simplicity, when you bypass that huge pedal board, it's amazing how that amp starts to ring on its own,
Right.
And I think that's part of what you're seeing here. You're seeing the simplicity of this tape and this one microphone, and then of course there's a certain beauty the way we played around the microphone together. It was like three of us at one time, and we would back off the mic while the other guy, stepped in and closed on it.
Self-mixing.
Yeah. Well,
A lot
some
of
of
hit
those
records are made that way. The
Exactly,
50s
man.
and Elvis, all those guys. I mean, this one
Well, you're left
microphone.
away. Can you imagine being recording for like Frank Sinatra with like 50 piece? There you are.
Right.
There's these mics. There's no overdubbing. There's no Pro Tools
And
here.
then you biff a
And
note.
I would be the one that would go
Clunk.
just like that.
just like that. To illustrate my point. and they would know. That's Al. That's Eck.
Watch it over there, please.
Yeah, right.
Well, excellent, guys. Well, we'll cut it loose here. I'll cut it off. But
Started.
man, this is
We start burning one, but we haven't even started.
I haven't
here.
even gotten going yet.
We're not even. You guys,
We're not
so much
leaving,
more to say.
John. You got a blues band now.
Hey, man.
We're not going anywhere.
right. We're set up. We're comfy.
When's dinner?
Wiley.
When's dinner? The fridge is over there.
Hey, I'm open, man. If you got some more, I'll take it, man. I didn't know if we were cutting into something here.
It's all good. Thank you,
Yeah.
man.
No,
Thank you very
absolutely,
much.
man.
It was
Thank you
appreciated, man.
for
Pleasure.
sharing the talent, taking us back, and showing us a little bit of what we're missing sometimes, But awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, John.
Alrighty.
I woke up this morning, a good gal was on my mind. I woke up this morning a good gal was on my mind. She's a good little woman, and I hate to leave her behind. You ever dream like you wake up cold, a coal in hand? Did you ever dream like yes? you ever dream like you wake up cold in hand? Well, that's a sure sign your woman got another man. Now, if your right side jump, your very flesh begin to crawl. Your right side jump. Your right side jump, your very flesh begin to crawl. Well, that's a sure sign, another mule kicking in your stall, in your stall. Mistreat you, sure don't mean you no harm if I mistreat you, baby. I mistreat you, sure don't mean you no harm. I'm a motherless child and I'm alone with his home. Now if you gonna leave me, please wouldn't you tell me? Couldn't you tell me? Wouldn't you just tell me so? If you gonna leave me, baby. If you gonna leave me, baby, please wouldn't you tell me so? You know, a man like me, I need some place to go. Your daddy take a peek. You got something, little girl, has been worrying me, and her mama don't allow me run around all night long. She said, son, you're so young and so woman bound to do you wrong. Jack of Diamonds told her Queen of Spades, come on, girl, let's go down that creeping way. And her mama don't allow me run around all night long. She said, son, you're so young and some woman bound to do you wrong. Sweetest peaches don't come from no tree, man. Sweetest honey don't come from no bee, and a mama don't allow me running around all night long. No, no. She said, son, you're so young and some woman about to do you wrong. Do you wrong. Drop down, mama, let your daddy take a peek. You got something, little girl, has been worrying me, and a mama don't allow me run around all night long. She said, son, you're so young and so woman bound to do your other. All right, rock the house. Thanks for having us here. See you in a minute.